Hello and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Totally Connected, the podcast series that serves as your portal to the cutting edge of New Zealand's tech scene, proudly presented by Entelar Group, the total connection company covering distribution, integrated end-to-end supply chain, IT field delivery and services, and more. Today we're speaking with Jacques Botes. Now, Jacques is Entelar Group's Chief Delivery Officer, so he plays a pretty key role in orchestrating the group's service delivery capabilities, the strategic direction of the company, operational excellence, and generally keeping the wheels turning across mobile, fibre, IT and infrastructure. Without further ado, welcome Jacques. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm doing well, thank you.
Pleasure to have you with us. Hey, I've been looking forward to our chat and finding a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of your work with Entelar Group and what the company's doing from your perspective. But before we get into that, I can detect a bit of an accent there. Why don't you start off with a little bit of your backstory? How did you come to be with the Entelar Group?
So I'm a seasoned technology executive with over 30 years of experience in the telecommunications industry. I've held several leadership roles, not just in New Zealand, but also South Africa, hence my accent. I worked for Telecom South Africa for over 10 years before my family moved to New Zealand. And the reason we did that is really to give our kids a better future. They were still young at the time that we migrated here. So we arrived in New Zealand in January 2007. When we arrived in New Zealand, I set out to look for a job. I came here with permanent residency, so it was a bit easier. And within a week, I landed a role at Sky TV.
Wow.
Sky TV was a bit of a cultural shock to my system. I don't know if you've ever been to their corporate office in Mount Wellington, tucked in between a bunch of old houses.
Yeah.
Not a very flash office, but they ran obviously the Sky TV service from there with the satellite connectivity, etc. So that was my experience into corporate New Zealand. And not surprisingly, that only lasted a few months. I got an opportunity to get back to my roots, and I joined Telecom New Zealand.
Yeah, what kind of a role was that?
Yeah, so my role in Telecom back in the day was I joined the program to deploy what they called the XT network. You or your listeners might have heard about the XT network and all the challenges that the XT network faced upon its launch. But I joined that program to deploy the WCDMA XT network for Telecom New Zealand at the time. It was a program role. I was responsible for international roaming specifically, as well as all of the IT systems that was implemented to support the provisioning of the XT service to Spark's customers. And I won't go into the detail around everything that happened around XT. It was a massive success and then a massive failure. But that sort of set the foundation for a lot of the other things that I did since then. So since being on that program, I moved around in various roles in Telecom since 2007. I sort of left Telecom in 2011. I got the opportunity to join one of the vendors in New Zealand. So I joined Huawei New Zealand. Huawei New Zealand were still relatively new in 2011. They just signed up 2 Degrees as their sort of cornerstone customer in New Zealand. So I joined Huawei to deploy some mobile services to 2 Degrees. Spent quite some time in Huawei. I ended up working with Huawei New Zealand for just about 10 years. I ended up leading the delivery team as VP of Delivery and Services for the New Zealand business in Huawei. But I think my highlight during my time at Huawei was swapping out that exact same WCDMA XT network that we deployed at first with a Huawei single RAN 3G network. And that 3G network is still largely in parts in use today, not just by Spark now, but also 2 Degrees. They still run quite a lot of their sites are still on Huawei single RAN 3G.
In terms of, say, career highlights, what sticks out in your mind, Jacques?
I'm also proud that I played a pivotal role in deploying the first LTE 4G network in New Zealand, and that was for Spark back in the day. The first deployment was in Hamilton, in Waikato.
So a pivotal role, what kind of stuff did that include, Jacques?
I was the fulfillment lead. So as a fulfillment lead, my role was really to work closely in the sales team as that sales force to obviously sell that capability and then deliver that capability. So I led the delivery team that delivered that LTE 4G network for Spark. That was prior to me moving into that other role.
Yeah, and from there to Entelar Group, yeah?
So I did a bit of a step change between Huawei and Entelar Group. So I left Huawei in 2021, 10 years after I joined them. I briefly joined Nokia as customer delivery manager, still in the mobile space. So I joined Nokia because they won a contract with Spark to deploy 5G. So I joined Nokia to deliver the Spark 5G network. So a lot of similarities, the first sort of WCDMA network, then 4G, and then 5G, and all for Spark. So I've spent about a year at Nokia as customer delivery manager on that project where I led the deployment team that delivered that 5G network. And then I got a call from Raj Singh, Entelar Group CEO. He was still at Spark Valley Management at the time, and he said he's starting up this service company to support the tower company, and if I'm keen to join his team to manage the delivery of the delivery responsibilities that we had. And obviously I was quite keen to do that, and I jumped ship and I joined Entelar Group in 2022 as Chief Delivery Officer.
Okay, so that just about brings us up to date. So what does a Chief Delivery Officer actually do? What kind of groups do you manage, and what does your day-to-day look like?
In essence, it's leading the delivery of all the programs and projects that support the nationwide deployment of Entelar Group's customers' mobile and fixed telecommunications services. Basically, everything that Entelar does in the delivery space goes through my business unit, and my team will manage the delivery of that. So the delivery team is obviously spread across mobile, fixed, so quite a wide range of resource. So we've got everything ranging from mobile telecommunications riggers, mobile technicians, RF engineers, design engineers, civil engineering resource, generalist ICT engineers looking after LAN, WAN, Wi-Fi, etc. We've got AV and audio engineers that does meeting room solutions, electricians, and then all of the back office support resource, so project coordinators, project managers, program managers, portfolio managers. So all sort of come together, and they then govern what and how we deliver the services we deliver to our customers.
Wow. Managing that many people with varying skills and specialties, it must be a huge challenge.
Yeah, I mean, managing the work of a team that is so diverse in skills, background, experience, and not just that, they're also widespread across New Zealand. That's obviously critical to our success. For me, that starts with sort of a clear mission statement. Why are we here? What does the delivery team stand for? And it's also important to sort of map that to the Entelar Group sort of value statement. So in the delivery team, we live by the mantra of enabling this extraordinary team of people to build and maintain spectacular infrastructure. So it's all about the people. For me, it's the people that makes the difference. And people first is also one of our sort of core values. So at the core of my team and my responsibility is therefore enabling our teams to bring their whole selves to work, to provide them with the mandate and support that they need to get their job done so they can do the same for their teams. So this requires a set of very clear expectations and obviously the platform for the teams to deliver to those expectations.
And as you mentioned, those teams are geographically really spread out, aren't they? What are the special challenges that come along with that?
So because everybody is not in the office and you can't eyeball them all the time, I think the biggest consideration for me is keeping the team safe wherever they are, whether they're working on customer premises or out in rural New Zealand. So our teams work in a high-risk environment. So some of them work at heights, frequently scaling mobile towers to install and maintain the mobile infrastructure. That's a risk in itself. Our civils team, they operate heavy machinery and are therefore exposed to significant daily risk. We've got our electricians and technicians that are exposed to dangerous levels of electricity, and that in itself can cause serious bodily harm if not worked with safely. So that's a big focus. So in this sort of world filled with uncertainty, the safety and well-being of our people are therefore paramount. It is probably our utmost responsibility. And just to sort of make sure that we do keep that top of mind, we've got an health and safety culture that we want to instill across our team, and that is sort of predicated on the actions of every individual. And we're trying to foster a workplace where safety is not merely a priority, but shared responsibility and fundamental value of all of our people. So it's not just about the policies and procedures. It's about empowerment and empowering every individual in the organization, regardless of rank or what they do, to sort of foster that safety culture and drive that and drive for continuous improvement. For them to do that, collaboration is obviously key. Collaboration amongst their peers, collaboration between teams, and really the teams harnessing their sort of shared experience to ensure that safe and secure working environment. And I firmly believe that we are the guardians of each other's safety. We need to remain vigilant. We need to communicate openly, obviously have empathy for our co-workers, and all actively participate in that safety journey. It's only through that we can create that sort of robust safety net that embrace and protect every individual as they get on with their daily work.
Really nicely put, Jacques. Okay, so just changing tack a little bit now. This is the Entelar Group podcast. So let's talk a little bit about the future. What are the sort of big strategic opportunities for Entelar Group right now, from where you stand?
So we do focus a lot on BAU work. That's just the nature of the business that we are in. So I'll go through a little bit of that, because even though some of them is quite mundane and sort of business as usual, a lot of it is still very interesting and relevant. So firstly, our mobile engineering team. So a mobile engineering team is the core of what we do. Quite a big chunk of that resource that you talked about is our mobile riggers and technicians. And they manage anything, obviously end-to-end mobile deployment lifecycle, from managing site acquisition activities to structural and engineering design of the towers, RF design of what goes on the towers. We do a lot of procurement of equipment that supports the installation. And then obviously at the heart of it is the installation of the mobile cell site towers and the technical installation of the mobile radio and transmission equipment. And we do that to keep the New Zealand mobile network at the cutting edge of technology. Just yesterday, I got a photo from one of my team members where they had to use a helicopter to lift a massive head frame. A head frame is the piece of steel that goes on top of the tower onto which you install the antennas and radios and stuff. So they used a helicopter to lift the steel onto the tower, because in some cases you just can't get a crane up there. So helicopter access is the only way to do that. And that in itself is quite interesting to see. It always amazes me when there's a helicopter lift involved, in terms of just the sheer amount of planning, health and safety preparation, etc., that goes into that. So that's the mobile side. And we all sort of obviously rely on mobile to keep our sort of online presence going, whether it's 4G or 5G. So our fiber delivery team, slightly different. It's not mobile, it's fixed. They work closely with our customers to design and deploy the backbone fiber across New Zealand. So this fiber backbone underpins most, if not all, of digital connectivity, whether that's your home broadband, your mobile service, or any other digital media that you have access to, that is underpinned by this mobile backhaul. So in a similar vein, talking about backhaul, most recently we were engaged by Amazon Kuiper to help them design and build their satellite earth station. And this will be fundamental for Amazon's ability to deliver satellite connectivity to New Zealand customers. So Amazon Kuiper is obviously a direct competition with the existing SpaceX-owned Starlink satellite broadband service that we already have access to in New Zealand. Project Kuiper is the Amazon initiative to increase global broadband access through their constellation of roughly 3,000 satellites that will be launched in low Earth orbit around the globe. And they obviously want to bring fast, affordable broadband to communities around the world, including rural New Zealand.
What a fascinating project to be a part of. That must be really interesting. I suppose for every one of those, there's a lot of, infrastructure as usual type work that goes on as well.
Unfortunately, we are still reliant on a whole bunch of outdated legacy technology in parts. So most of our customers to various ratios still reliant on legacy technology to deploy services to customers in New Zealand. So our telco engineering team ensure that legacy equipment across the various Spark exchanges remains in tip-top working conditions to ensure that Spark can continue to provide traditional telecommunication services or landlines to some of their customers. Another part of my team deploys modern AV, which is obviously video conferencing solutions. And they also manage the operational aspects of this, the products and solutions that they deploy for various customers. LAN, WAN, so local area network, wide area networks. We do a lot of that for some of our customers. Wi-Fi, if one of our corporate customers has Wi-Fi connectivity issues, we've got Wi-Fi solutions that ensures that those businesses operate as they need to. More recently, we were also contracted to modernize the smart electricity metering network operating throughout New Zealand. And that is really just to ensure that the technology remains at the forefront of changes within our network operators' mobile network changes. So a lot of the smart metering, electricity metering solutions still run on 2G networks. And as these old legacy 2G networks get switched off, obviously these solution providers need to refresh their technology to the latest 4G, 5G technology.
Being able to provide such a breadth of service, especially when you're working with a lot of legacy technology, is access to skilled staff an issue? How does Entelar Group approach, getting enough people who, essentially know what they're doing?
Yeah, there's quite a few challenges in that area. So with the modern pace of change in technology, it's vital to stay abreast of these technology changes. Keeping the team's capability updated is a big challenge, and that requires a constant investment in people to ensure that their skills remain in line with these changes and that they can continue to deliver the services they deliver to our customers. I looked at some stats the other day. We are obviously a relatively small nation with roughly 5.2 million people, give or take. 65% roughly of these are at working age. And of those 65% at working age, only around 30% of them that's nearing retirement. And I can see that in my team's composition as well. I believe we have an aging workforce. The only way to address this risk that this aging workforce brings to the table is to try and invest in our youth or by adding offshore experience, both of which has their own set of unique challenges. So talking through sort of offshore recruitment firstly, we'd recently embarked on an offshore recruitment drive, and we were quite successful in that. It allowed us to access roughly 40 experienced resources from offshore. But on the flip side, this came at a huge cost to us, both with respect to time invested, recruitment fees, relocation expenses, the visa fees, etc. But once that was done, also a massive commitment to training to integrate these fresh recruits into New Zealand work culture.
So in terms of satisfying this demand locally, what do we have to do to improve the pipeline? What do we have to do to make sure there are enough skilled workers to satisfy the needs of local organisations?
So the challenge we face in New Zealand is that we've got a relatively small workforce of skilled resource working in the telecommunications sector. So we end up just poaching from each other. So I'd go to employees in my competitor, poach them. A couple of months later, they poach them back. And the same resource just circulate between the different services companies. So that is obviously not working as well. That just drives the cost of labor up. So I think what we should do is we should do more to bring people in from the grassroots. But to enable us to do so, we need to do more to sort of tell prospective recruits what we are doing and why a career in telecommunications and engineering as a whole is not just exciting, but also contributing to society as a whole. You can walk into any high school, talk to people about what a mobile network rigger does as an example, and you'll be faced with blank stares as our youth simply does not have the visibility of the range of career options within the telecommunications sector. So they typically leave school chasing traditional trade jobs or more mainstream professional roles. So I think as an industry, we should do more to educate our youth about the countless career opportunities that are available to them.
Yeah. So for any young people out there who might be listening, what's your advice to them? This is an exciting, growing industry. What's the best thing they can do to get themselves into the industry and to sort of elevate themselves from there?
It's going to be difficult if people don't know what is available. So I think we should reach out first and create that platform where they have access to this information. But there's various ways that they can probably do it. We were recently working with our people and culture team through a partnership with limited service volunteers, and we added some interns into our team. So these interns had no idea around telecommunications or what it is that we do, but we reached out, grabbed a few, and embedded them into our team. So this program sort of empowers young individuals to enter the workforce, to sort of build their confidence, their skills as they embarked on their new life chapter. And what was quite pleasing for me to see was the enthusiasm and energy that these young people brought to the team. As I said before, we've got an aging workforce, so to drop a couple of 19, 20-year-olds into the team is quite infectious. So I'm looking forward to continue to explore ways how we can engage our youth more and for them to explore career options within the telecommunications sector. So my advice to the youth is be open, be inquisitive, and try some of these roles. Some of these roles are really exciting and quite powerful, sort of enabling digital connectivity.
Great. Hey, and one thing we should probably point out here is we're not just talking about the boys, are we? How are you, Jacques, helping with Entelar Group's focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion?
It's quite a big challenge for me at the moment. How to encourage our female, not just female youth, but females in general, to join what is traditionally a male-dominated industry. So I'm sure we are all well aware of the benefits a diverse workforce with a team of diverse outlooks, backgrounds, experience can deliver. So I firmly believe not only will it influence innovation, but it will also make our business more effective, efficient, and productive. So I'm quite keen to raise awareness that women specifically can play a pivotal role in the infrastructure sector, especially in the infrastructure telecommunication sector. So I'd be the first to admit that we haven't solved this challenge. But then again, our industry hasn't managed to solve this challenge. So much more thinking and action needs to go into this. We're currently working on various initiatives, though, to see how we can best affect the change and sort of try and change the dial on our diversity and inclusion numbers. So we're tapping into the sort of experience of like-minded organisations like Infrastructure New Zealand, just to capitalise really on the work that they have done on their women and infrastructure initiatives. But it's a big challenge for me. I can advertise for any role really in my team, and I just won't attract any female applicants. So the question for me is, how do we advertise differently? How do we plant the seed, and going back to that sort of awareness that all these roles are available, and even if you're female with diverse background and experience, this role could work for you. It's that sort of education piece around that that I'd begin to do a little bit more on to sort of help change that situation.
Nice. Entelar Group is quite a unique company, isn't it? I was speaking with Raj Singh, Entelar Group CEO, a little while ago, and one of the things he spoke about, at length, was how Entelar Group is a people-focused and, really purpose-driven company. How do you think that broader focus on purpose, works to uniquely position Entelar Group in the industry?
So Entelar Group's purpose statement is enabling technology for a connected future. So we are a technology services provider, and we are a technology distributor. So our unique value add to the industry and key differentiator is that we don't just distribute technology. So if you want a Cisco solution for your office connectivity, we can supply you that Cisco product. But we also have the capability in the services team to install and maintain that Cisco solution, as an example. So it's that end-to-end connectivity value chain, using technology, enabling technology for that connected future. So it's like two pieces of a puzzle. We supply the technology, either through our vendor partners or through our distribution business unit, and then we enable that technology through our design, implementation, and operational service that we provide.
Hey, that's good stuff. Thank you, Jacques, for joining us here today. And thank you too, dear listener, for tuning in. That's another one in the bag. If you like what you've heard here, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, or drop us a line with your feedback, topic ideas, or anything else you'd like to get off your chest. I'm Jonathan Cotton. This was the Totally Connected podcast, brought to you by Entelar Group, the Total Connection Company. Till next time, be good, stay safe. See you in a bit.